happened just before 9:30 last night on that Blue Line train. Chicago police tell us a 26-year-old woman got into an argument with a man that police believe is 45 years old. That argument turned physical, and at some point he threw liquid onto that woman and set her on fire. The train ended up stopping at Clark and Lake. The man took off running. Now, she was able to make it out of the train, but then she collapsed.
You know, we don't have to live like this. But here we are coming to you again this month with yet another Democrat Party-induced crime story that involves a violent, heinous, and shocking attack on a subway train. Does that sound very familiar, by the way? Are you starting to notice something of a pattern with what happens when you put radical race communists in charge of public policy and especially public transit? Yeah, that's right. Everything you let these people touch goes to blank. But nonetheless, this week's story comes out of the city of Chicago, Illinois, where last night a man reportedly set a woman on fire aboard a Chicago train. That woman, by the way, is currently in critical condition. Everybody pray for her. But would it exactly surprise anyone to find out that the suspect of interest currently in this case allegedly has 22 prior arrests? Yeah, rings eerily similar, doesn't it, to DeCarlos Brown Jr., the man with 14 prior arrests, who brutally stabbed Irina Zarutska just a few months ago. Because after all, it stands to reason that if you have to arrest someone, I mean, I would argue more than like 4 or 5, but shoot, over 10 times, they're probably not rehabilitating BLM activists. So to Brandon Johnson, the woke mayor who constantly says incarceration is not the answer. Actually, you pro-criminal, pro-murder, pro-death scumbag, in this case, it would have been the answer. Because if at any point of the 22 prior arrests, you're just like, oh, maybe we shouldn't just incarcerate or, institutionalize this guy, guess what? You would have never had a woman who was lit on fire. The same is true of the Charlotte mayor, who thought it was a bright idea to let out a guy who got arrested 14 different times. Again, I say we do not have to live like this, and we are rejecting the name calling of, oh, you don't want to get stabbed or lit on fire when you're just trying to go to work or go home. That's an unreasonable request. How dare you be a racist? Don't you know that's just a cultural difference? You know, some cultures like to light random innocent people on fire. Don't you know that this is diversity? And surely, right, if we had just taken mental health more seriously and had a restorative justice kumbaya meeting but still let this guy go free, this would have never happened. That's the solution. We all just need to come together and love the flowers, and surely violent arsonists will stop lighting people on fire, but never once think about prison, right? That's bad. Police is bad. Justice systems are bad. Loving the flowers is so good. This is so ridiculous, but nonetheless, we'll bring you this story here today. We'll also show you the ridiculous excuses that are being made by, say, the Chicago mayor, the Illinois governor, and again, the alleged story here where the suspect of interest has 22 prior arrests. So let's get into it. First, though, guys, do us a favor. If you enjoy our content, make sure you hit that like button down below and subscribe to the channel if you are new. That's not only the best way to support our work, but it also ensures that you can stay up to date with all the latest news and coverage. And that said, okay, let's take a listen first to the local news so we can get the full details on this story. And then we'll tell you what happens next.
A really disturbing story this morning. A woman severely burned after she was set on fire on a Blue Line train.
Yeah, the attacker ran off the train and has yet to be found.
Darius Johnson continuing to follow this story for us live from Stroger Hospital. We have the latest on the investigation. Darius, also, how's the woman doing?
Hey there, ladies. Good morning to the both of you. Chicago police say that all of this started with a verbal argument on the train and ended with that woman being set on fire. She's currently here at Stroger Hospital in critical condition. Take a listen to what we heard over a police scanner.
We're getting several calls of this. Arson just occurred. Blue Line, Clark and Lake and the Blue Line. There's a female was just set on fire on the CTA train.
This was just before 9:30 last night. Chicago police say the victim was a 26-year-old woman and a 45-year-old man who got into a verbal altercation while riding the Blue Line train near Clark and Lake. Witnesses say the dispute escalated and the man splashed a liquid on the woman, ignited it, setting her on fire. When the train...
But, you know, then it was a mostly peaceful incident, right? There was just speech. It was just an argument. Sure, it ended in fire. But according to Democrats, that's mostly peaceful, right? Who cares about the fire? Most of the 90% of the incident up until the point she got lit on fire was peaceful. So just keep that in mind.
Stopped, the man ran off. The woman got off the train and collapsed on the platform before firefighters arrived to put out the flames. Our crew was there last night and spoke to witnesses before she was rushed here to Stroger Hospital with severe burns and critical condition.
Seen them before everything happened. Everything looked fine. She was sitting there by herself, and then all of a sudden I get off the train at the front and I hear a girl scream and I see her run off the train in flames. I seen a group of guys and one girl run toward the exit where there's no orange line. They were bursting out of there. And I go running over to see what's going on. She's already out on the ground just crying, burnt to a crisp.
So look, by the way, this is pure speculation, but I'm going to guess the reports of an argument or a verbal altercation are likely inaccurate. I think what probably more likely here happened is that this lunatic just approaches some random woman who's minding her own business on the train and just like starts attacking her, right? And maybe she says something back and that's why it's an altercation, but it's entirely provoked by this lunatic, okay? And by the way, again, just would like to point out, not the first time we've seen this, okay? Arena, by the way, anyone remember the woman who was set on fire in New York City? I think that was like a MS-13 or a gang member migrant who did something like that, right? What is going on in public transit? Oh, that's always been dangerous, or, it's not actually pretty safe overall. Some garbage Democrats will say, no, actually, I think the answers here are pretty obvious, because you're talking about, like let's look at the 3 most notable train attacks in the United States in the past year. One was an illegal alien. One was a guy who got arrested 14 times. Allegedly here, this guy got arrested 22 times. Which means in every single case, it was a voluntary choice. It was not this type of thing where we could have never seen it coming, right? There was no way to prevent, this guy never has done anything wrong in his life and then he just committed an attack on a train. No, every single time, the warning signs were there, right? They told you they were snakes when you let them in. Do we need to play the poem again? Fine, let's play the poem again.
On her way to work one morning, down the path along the lake, a tender-hearted woman saw a poor, half-frozen snake. His pretty-colored skin had been all frosted with the dew. Poor thing, she cried, I'll take you in, and I'll take care of you. The border. Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed the vicious snake. She hurried home from work that night, and as soon as she arrived, she found that pretty snake she'd taken in had been revived. Take me in, O tender woman. Take me in, for heaven's sake. Take me in, O tender woman, sighed that vicious snake. She clutched him to her bosom. You're so beautiful, she cried. But if I hadn't brought you in by now, oh heavens, you would have died. She stroked his pretty skin again and kissed him and held him tight. But instead of saying thank you, that snake gave her a vicious bite. I have saved you, cried the woman. And you've bitten me, heavens, why? You know your bite is poisonous, and now I'm going to die. Oh, shut up, silly woman, said the reptile with a grin. You knew damn well I was a snake before you took me in.
Yeah, so not sure if you can tell, but I'm a massive fan of that poem. Not just because it's funny when Trump reads it, but because it perfectly summarizes the suicidal empathy of the left. Although I'm not sure that's the proper term, because I think largely it's not even naivety that drives it anymore. These people know what they're doing. They're civilizational arsonists. They crave the destruction. They crave the violence. There's a reason why this person time and time again gets let out on the street, right? And that said, would you be exactly surprised to find out the brand new report where the person of interest in this story, ladies and gentlemen, has 22 prior arrests, and guess what? Was freed by a woke, anti-civilizational judge. Many such cases, right? We got to do something about our judiciary, by the way. I mean, this is a problem that you've noticed, not just in America, but in a lot of major Western powers, where even some like right-wing populist guy will get elected, and then you notice, oh, wait a minute, the globalists own the judiciary. What's going on there? Like Nayib Bukele, for instance, when he cleaned up El Salvador, there were a bunch of judges who were just like bought out, and on the side of the MS-13, he had to basically fire a bunch of those people. You look at what the Supreme Court did to Bolsonaro in Brazil. I'm sure it happens a lot in Europe. There's something going on here, right? It's not just about, oh, some leftists managed to become judges. No, there's definitely we'll say, likely Soros type of campaign to, again, get these snakes in the judiciary. But nonetheless, okay. But anyways, let's get into this. So a 50-year-old man being questioned in Monday's Chicago train attack, where a woman was set on fire, had a long arrest record and was previously freed by a judge after allegedly assaulting a social worker, according to a report. You're probably already hearing he assaulted a social worker. How the heck is that okay? But I'm going to guess there's more to the story than that. You know why? Because I don't think he just simply tracked down a social worker and decided he wanted to assault that person. No, it's much more likely that they sent a social worker to him because anyone remember from BLM, all that stuff, right? Don't send a police officer, send a social worker. So they probably assumed, oh, this guy is violent. This guy's mentally ill. He's been arrested like 20 times, but we don't want to send the police to arrest him. That'd be mean. Maybe he just needs a friend to talk to, right? Take me in. I'm a vicious snake. Please send me a social worker. And then what happens? The snake bites. See what I'm talking about, right? So they sent a social worker, likely to try to help this guy. He assaulted the social worker. And then instead of saying, okay, common sense here, all right? So we tried the BLM approach. We tried to send the social worker. You tried to beat up, maybe even kill the social worker. So now it's time for you to go to jail. No, instead, the judge here says, please go free. It's okay, fine. We'll just let you keep committing violence then. And if it's true, which it seems like it likely is, that this person of interest that they're detaining and they have in custody is the attacker. Gee, again, what did you expect to happen? You already saw the guy is insane. The guy beat up the social worker that you probably tried to send to him to see if he was okay. And you're like, oh yeah, well, let's let that guy out. Yeah, maybe if you give him his 23rd chance, he'll stop committing violence. Utterly insane, okay? You need to stop letting race communists be in charge of anything, but especially criminal justice policy. The person of interest has 22 prior arrests since 2016. The past decade alone. Keep in mind, the guy's like 50, right? 22 prior arrests and 53 criminal cases in Cook County dating back to 1993, including 9 different felonies that led to guilty pleas, though only 2 resulted in jail time, CWB Chicago had reported. So they arrested this guy. He was committing felonies in the 90s. Maybe they thought he'd grow up. No, since 2016, he's now middle-aged. He's about to be an old man, right? Keeps getting arrested, and in August, he was charged with aggravated battery after allegedly knocking a female social worker unconscious at a psychiatric hospital, according to the outlet. So that is right. Yeah, exactly. They're trying to help him. Oh, maybe he needs just an intervention. Yeah, I don't know. It seems to me that the 53 criminal cases since 1993 should have been a dead giveaway, that the guy's a lunatic. He should have been put in jail. But let me ask to Brandon Johnson then and all these BLM people who say incarceration or institutionalization is not the answer. Okay, so what is exactly? Clearly, we need to just let them free on the street. And so that way, maybe they'll fix their lives. The guy's 50 years old. Oh, we just need education. He just needs to go to a social program. Really? Yeah. Is that what it is? Is it socioeconomic factors? Is that the reason why this guy it just won't stop committing crimes? Or is it perhaps the case that he is a violent individual who just shouldn't be on the streets? Let me tell you a quick story, actually. So, I grew up in California. That's where I'm from. And we used to have something called the 3 strikes law, okay? Essentially what it did was, if you commit and get convicted of 3 separate felonies, right? Not necessarily in the same night, like if they charge you with 3 charges, but 3 separate cases of felonies, then you go to jail for life. Which to me seems like a sensible policy, right? You had your first warning in life. You went to prison, whatever. You did it again. 3 strikes, you're out. Clearly, you're not taking this seriously. Go to jail for life. That's your problem, right? Because at a certain point, I would argue, society has to do what's best for everyone, right? And understand, okay, we gave you your chance to rehabilitate. You keep on causing problems. Eventually, we have to take an action to protect the rest of society, which is to remove you from the rest of society, essentially, right? And maybe after the 3rd one, you would have genuinely rehabilitated, but pattern recognition here, folks, right? It's not the job of everyone else to sit around and let you potentially terrorize everyone else just because, oh, please give me another chance, right? But you know what happened in California? As you could expect, a bunch of left-wing activists got that law repealed because they said it was racist or it was causing over-incarceration. And look at California today. I'm sure this probably happened something similar to it in Illinois, right? Yeah, did anything get better? Or it turns out the best indicator of future behavior is past behavior. So if you have a repeat offender and, you know, if their first and second time they didn't learn their lesson and they just keep on repeat offending, it stands to reason they're probably not going to stop. The chances of that are very low, right? And no, it's not racist. It's not over incarceration, whatever stupid left-wing nonsense, right? To say you keep on offending, go to jail for life. Or if you're mentally ill, institutionalized for life. That's what should happen. But no, Brandon Johnson's about to argue the opposite. But anyways, neither the man nor the judge was publicly identified, as no charges have been filed yet in this train attack, but this person was taken into custody on Tuesday afternoon. We should be in jail anyway, frankly, you know. But, you know, there you essentially have it. And as I've been hinting at, this stands side by side with what the Chicago mayor has said recently about criminal justice. So let's hear his bright and amazing takes about how incarcerating people with 22 prior arrests is actually a bad thing in his own city. Take a listen.
The fact of the matter is we are driving violence down on this city, and we're using every single resource that's available to us. Jails and incarceration and law enforcement is a sickness that has not led to safe communities.
So he's driving down violence, he says, as people light each other on fire on subway trains. But law enforcement and incarceration are not the answer. As this guy with 22 prior arrests who beat up the social worker who was trying to help him, just allegedly lit someone on fire. Yeah, very telling. It goes on, though.
We cannot incarcerate our way out of violence. We've already tried that, and we've ended up with the largest prison population in the world without solving the problems of crime and violence. The addiction on jails and incarceration in this country, we have moved past that. It is racist, it is immoral, it is unholy, and it is not the way to drive violence down.
Oh yeah, Brandon Johnson, you're so right. That's such an amazing point. You know, it is racist and unholy to say that someone with 22 prior arrests should probably just be put in jail for life before they violently light someone on fire nearly to death, maybe even to death, we don't know at this point, on a subway train, right? No, we can't incarcerate our way out of that. There's nothing that could have prevented this. He just needed a social worker. He beat up the social worker, you idiot. But you're just a racist. You want someone who got arrested 22 times to go to jail? That's how racist of you. Oh, wow. You don't want to get lit on fire on a subway train? You must be a bigot. That's just part of our culture. It's so ridiculous. And by the way, let me just say, you actually can incarcerate your way out of crime. And I know that's a hot take with some people, but as one example, the 1994 crime bill, which I know, right, was like Joe Biden and Bill Clinton's thing. And they get attacked for it today. They get called racist for it today. But it actually did do a significant part in lowering crime rates. So did Rudy Giuliani when he took over New York City and started doing things like, I know, stop and frisk. That was so controversial. I get it. But it's actually an objective fact. From the 90s, when you saw a bunch of tough on crime legislation, even in Democrat states, right? That's when California, for instance, did the 3 strikes thing. That's when New York City had Giuliani. That's when federally they passed the 94 crime bill, etc. For several decades, crime went down in the United States. You know when it only started to go up, right? It's called the invention of BLM. And then 2020, and then all of a sudden you see it rise again. It was on a downward trend. You know why? Because we were having a low tolerance in society for crime. And then you decided to reverse that policy, and then what happened? Absolute genius. Mayor Johnson, by the way, has yet to provide a direct statement on the subway incident itself, but he did respond to another attack today and basically said exactly what he believes. It's critical we must provide the necessary resources to our public education system, so every school community has counselors and mental health professionals. Oh, really? Yeah. What's going on here? We must redouble our efforts to teach our young people that violence is never an acceptable response. Well, clearly, if they commit violence and you let them out of jail, then people are going to learn that it is an acceptable response, won't they? But, you know, that's what you're seeing from Johnson. And of course, how could we forget Governor J.B. Pritzker, who infamously refuses the Illinois National Guard to be deployed. And then here's what happens.
You're going to hear people, especially this past weekend, 54 shot, 7 dead. Yeah. They're going to say, the city's not safe. Would you ask your friends to ride the L after midnight or after, 9 o'clock at night even to come down to the city from O'Hare?
Look, big cities have crime. There's no doubt about it. But let's just pay attention to what President Trump is doing targeting Chicago. He's overlooking red states that have much higher crime rates.
Well, he's actually not. There's a highly successful federal operation going on in Memphis right now. But keep in mind that J.B. Pritzker, notice he didn't actually answer the question, right? Would you encourage people to ride the train after 9 p.m. or after midnight? Absolutely not. Because as he says that, look, we don't have a lot of crime. Oh, the touristy, look, we're walking in a touristy area and it's completely safe. Yeah, screw the normal residents. We only care about the financial capital center, the business, the big businessmen, the billionaires actually, and tourist economy. We don't care about people who actually live here. We're getting lit on freaking fire, right? But yeah, anyways, guys, there you essentially have it. Just totally disgraceful, okay? And again, the snake poem. This guy warned you so many times who he was. And now, allegedly, a woman has third-degree burns because of it. All right, that said, though, let me know your thoughts. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, and until next time, God bless and peace.